Hello, everybody. My name's Brennan,
My name's Gabe.
and this is Shadow Valley. So, this week, unfortunately, we don't have Parker with us. He is currently moving,
The big move. Yeah, we'll wish him a good move and we'll get him back next week.
basically. So, this week, what we wanted to talk about is we wanted to talk about kind of horror and horror movies as a whole. And I guess just like starting off of it, I think horror is one of my favorite genres of movie just because I love the adrenaline rush that I get from it.
Yeah, like the sitting on the edge of your seat kind of feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that. I think and it's hard because I think we've mentioned this in the past episodes. I think with La Llorona episode that we did, we talked a little bit about horror movies in general.
Yeah.
But I think especially right now during Halloween, and we just had Friday the 13th just 2 days ago.
Right.
People want to kind of dive into these movies and get into the mood of Halloween, because Halloween is supposed to be like a kind of spooky, unsettling, and you're supposed to have fun.
Yeah.
Especially as you get older, I think it changes a lot from being like the dressing up for Halloween. I think you can still party and dress up and have fun, but
Right.
also I think for me, it has changed from like dressing up for Halloween, hanging out with my friends
Yeah.
to, I want to go carve a pumpkin and watch a scary movie or something. Or I want to go carve a pumpkin, go watch a scary movie, or get some grub, watch a scary movie, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
whatever.
Like, I completely agree. It's definitely changed for me over time. Like, if you asked me, like, we'll say like 11 years ago, like how I felt about horror movies, I'd be like, no, I can't.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
feel
can't
that.
do it.
Yeah.
They're too scary, blah, blah, blah. But now I'm like a horror junkie to where I just can't.
Gotta
like,
inject the horror in your veins.
basically, dude, I gotta like snort it off the table.
Yeah.
Just
Nice.
basically.
The Exorcist.
Oh shoot, I want to see that now actually,
Yeah.
even though the girls look like Smeagol.
Dude, oh yeah, because I think we brought that up during
We
that
did.
episode too. And so I guess kind of just to dive into it, that's one thing that really frustrates me about like I guess horror movies in general is, and again, not again because we haven't said this, but
Yeah.
Brandon and I were talking that I think it's important that we note that we're not like movie connoisseurs.
Yeah.
We're just two dudes doing a podcast, and so our opinions might be shit. So please don't freaking judge us. We're just talking here. We want to put out some content for you guys, and just kind of, we'd love to hear from you as well if you guys disagree with our opinion, because I think it's always fun to have an open conversation. But
Oh yeah.
my big frustration with a lot of these like horror or like scary films is they put a huge emphasis on I guess just like the gore part
Yeah.
or the possession part. And I know a lot of these movies like The Exorcist are very catered toward the possession part, but
Yeah.
I just don't really find that too scary in my opinion, especially the gore part,
Right.
because it's never really well done. I don't think it's very well done at all ever.
I think some of the best movies that I've seen that have really good gore is the Evil Dead series for sure.
Oh yeah.
And I'll definitely bring that up. Like, the most recent one that came out this year, The Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen that one?
No, I haven't. But I remember you
You-
telling me that you were like freaked out
That one was insane.
because
And
you went on a date, didn't
Yeah,
you?
I
Which
did.
is crazy, guys. Like that is, I don't know. I think maybe we talked about this, but it is nuts that you went to go watch that kind of movie on a first date. That blows me away.
I just didn't realize it was going to be so gory.
Because wasn't it your idea?
It was my idea.
You're wilding out, dude. Do you still talk to that person?
No, I did get like a repeat date after that, but then
You
we
did.
kind of just like stopped talking.
They're probably like, that was the craziest first date ever.
Yeah, like I had to apologize, but they were also kind of like weird. They're kind of still like Mormon, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Oh, dang. Dude, that's always what I think about is like, I wonder what first dates I've done that like people will talk about the rest of their lives, whether it was like good or just like horrible, They're like, dude, I went on a first date with this guy and it was terrible. Oh, sorry, sidetrack for a quick sec.
Yeah.
Um, one time I went on a date with this girl, and I had a 1984 Jeep.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, I remember that.
yeah, you do that red one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went on a date with this girl, and I went to go pick her up. It was about probably 25 minutes from my house, and I had to go on the freeway
Yeah.
because I don't want to drive on the back roads. And if you've ever owned a Jeep, you know that those Jeeps do not do well going past like 60 miles an hour,
Yeah.
especially the old ones. The reason behind that is because they just aren't built to go very fast, and so they start to get kind of like a wobble on the freeway.
Yeah.
Because I don't know the exact science, but I think it's just the moments that are happening from the wheels to the ground are
Mhm.
just too much, and so the moment on the surface of it is just making it shake like crazy.
Dang.
Again, I might be wrong on that, but so essentially what ended up happening is I pick up this girl, we drive all the way down back to where we're going for our date, which is another 25 minutes back.
Yeah.
And during this time, and I told her, I was like, hey, this Jeep shakes like crazy when we drive. So we might not be able to talk, but I'll try to like talk to you as we're going.
Yeah.
And I considered even taking the back roads, which I should have. But during that time, what had happened was my lug nuts.
No.
Sorry, not my lug nuts, but my rim
Yeah.
around the lug nut, the hole where the bolt goes through,
Yeah.
that just got completely shredded. And so what happened was, and I looked at the lug nut after, but the lug nut hole probably grew, I don't know, 2 inches in diameter.
Jeez.
And so when we finally got to, we were about probably like a quarter mile till we were going to Nickel City.
Okay. I know where that's at.
Yeah. And so we were probably a quarter mile, and then my left front tire flies off my Jeep.
Oh my
And
God.
so if anybody knows Utah County at all, we're on State Street near University and State. And so it's super busy. It's like a Friday night, super busy. Luckily, though, there are no cars coming on the left side.
Yeah.
So it's completely empty. So my wheel flies off. I see it rolling. And then the car just drops to the left. It was nuts, dude. So this freaking tire's rolling, and this guy's pulling out of a drive-through, and
Yeah.
he nails his car. And I was
No.
like, shit. And so, because I would have been totally fine if it was just like my vehicle that got kind of wrecked, you know?
Yeah.
But then this other guy's car gets wrecked. The best part about this whole time, I mean, and I'll finish this off in a second. Sorry, this is kind of a big tangent, but
No.
the best part was that everybody around us,
Yeah.
there was a ton of people, and it was actually like really cool to see like everybody come out and help. But there was a ton of guys that came, and everybody just picked up the Jeep, dude. There was probably like 15 dudes picked up the Jeep,
Damn.
and we moved it off State Street.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It was crazy. Just a bunch of
Jeez.
dudes just lifting up a whole Jeep. It was nuts. And so So we moved the car off the street. The guy comes and asks for my insurance, the one that the tire hit. And then
Yeah. Was he pissed?
no, he was actually really nice. He was like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, this is like a really shitty day for you too. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, your tire hit my car. Like, and I was like, yeah, man, like, I understand. It's all right. And so I gave him my insurance information and stuff. And yeah, after that, my parents came by. They let me borrow their car
Yeah.
because I wasn't at home. And so they let me borrow their car, and then I just took her to get ice cream, and then I took her home because after that it was just like so awkward. And then I told her, I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that was going to happen, you know?
Yeah.
And then we never ended up talking again. But I'm sure she was super nice about it too. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to talk about it or anything. Like, I hope there's the impression that she was like bad or anything was
Yeah.
not given, but she was great. But yeah, we never talked again. And I'm sure that's probably a story that she'll tell everybody for the rest of her life. You know, that's like
Yeah.
just horrible.
I've gone on some pretty bad dates. Like,
Yeah.
that's my worst thing is the fact that like I can go on some pretty bad dates. Like
Mhm.
I've gone on a date with a pedophile, and I had
That's
no
crazy.
idea they were a pedophile until like I think maybe like 3 times after seeing them.
What?
Yeah.
You went on a date with him 3 times.
Yeah, and then I found out they were a pedophile.
Wow.
That
Wait.
was
Oh, I think we talked about this too. Did
on
we?
a previous episode.
Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe. But anyway,
That is
continue.
crazy. Freaking yeah, no. pedophile, bad.
Yeah, bad.
I have a lot of dating horror stories that I could like tell. Like if I had a red flag, it's probably just the fact that I definitely don't know how to pick the right people to go out with. When I pick the right people, like it's a win
Yeah.
and it's really cool.
Mhm.
But like I can also pick really terrible people to go out
It
with.
sucks, man.
Like when we're done, I'm gonna tell you about one type of person that I went out with
Mhm.
that like honest to God, I don't dare mention while I'm talking on the podcast. But yeah, it was probably, I don't know, the pedophile was probably the worst, but it was
Mhm.
like probably the second worst date I ever went on.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about it after. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
It was
Um,
pretty bad, but
But yeah, so back to movies and why we like them and dislike them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally agree with you. The like the adrenaline, I guess, that you get when you're on the edge of your seat, you know, and you don't know what's going to happen, or a movie can convey so well
yeah,
to the audience, like sense of urgency.
yeah,
I think it's awesome. One of the movies that really, I guess, stood out for me that gave me the impression of that was A Quiet Place. Have you ever seen that?
yeah. I've seen A Quiet Place.
Yeah, it was like I think that movie, they used silence really, really well
Yeah,
to kind of make the like viewer almost want to be quiet themselves, you know?
Yeah.
And then when you hear a sound in the movie, it's kind of like a spooky thing because you know something is going to come for him.
right.
And mind you, that was more of like it's not a horror movie, but it's more of like a suspenseful movie. And that brings me to my next point. And I think I'd probably, during Halloween, to get me more in like that mood, I think it's very fun to watch like those gore movies and stuff because it does
Yeah.
feel more Halloween-y. But if I want to like get on the edge of my seat, kind of feel frightened a little bit, I want to watch something more suspenseful or
Yeah.
something that will make me feel like this could happen in real life, you know?
For sure.
Which a lot of this stuff can happen in real life, I guess, but in more traditional sense, like home invasion or kidnappings or stuff like that, or like there's one, oh, what was that one movie called? Silent or something. Oh man,
What's it about?
it's about this girl that lives like in Virginia or something.
she
like
deaf?
that. Yeah, yeah.
Hush.
She's Hush. That's what it was. That movie freaks me out because it's like it's just so suspenseful, you know, and that could actually happen in real life, mind
Yeah.
you. Like it's pretty intense and sometimes far fetched at times, but that kind of movie and that kind of ambience, I guess, is what really kind of freaks me out.
Well, I'm actually gonna talk about a horror movie, kind of from it was from 1986,
Uh-huh.
and it's actually a really suspenseful horror movie. It's
Mhm.
known as like one of the staples of the horror genre.
Yeah.
It's a horror sci-fi movie. It's Alien.
Okay.
Um,
yeah. Alien.
you've seen Alien?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay, played the freaking game that's scary
Yeah.
AF.
Yeah, dude.
That
I
gives
remember
my-
playing that on I think it was Xbox.
Yeah.
Like the original Xbox, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
freaking. If you ever want to raise your blood pressure, like play that game because that game scares the crap out of
Yeah.
me.
Dude, that's another thing that I think is definitely like overlooked is
Yeah.
how freaky games can be, you know, because they're so much more immersive than like a movie.
Yeah,
There's a game.
because you have to do it.
Yeah, exactly. You have to do it. You have to be that character, and it's kind of freaky. It's unsettling, you know.
Yeah,
There's a time I remember when we I think you were with me when we did this. We did it with another mutual friend of ours, but we played like Slenderman in my parents' TV room, and we like blacked out all the lights and crap, and then we put like paper on the window so we couldn't see. And dude, that was freaky. I know it's just a game. It's just Slenderman, like
Yeah.
stupid. But anyway, continue on. Sorry.
no, for sure. Like I don't know. It's interesting. And that's actually one of the movies I want to talk about for sure is Alien.
Mhm.
I really like because one of the quotes they use to kind of add some suspense to it is, no one in space can hear you scream.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, because it's true. Like when you're alone, like that's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can hear you. You're in deep space. Of course, like in this movie, our protagonist, Ellen Ripley, like she has her crew,
Mhm.
but one by one they start getting taken out by this alien, which something I like about horror movies, at least older horror movies, and I hate to be that guy who's like, oh my god, like freaking practical effects were so much better than freaking CGI
Yeah,
now, like,
yeah,
but the practical effects like in this movie were top tier,
right.
like, um, and the director, like Loki, he was really good at what he did.
Hmm.
But one of the moves people are like, that was a dick move.
Hmm.
And it was the fact that like in the film, like there's the chest burster
Right,
scene.
where the alien comes out.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The only people who knew that was going to happen was like the director, some people who were working with him, and then the actor where it happened to. The other actors had no clue that was.
Really? I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
So all of their reactions when that's
They're
happening,
so real.
yeah, is genuine.
Wow, that's so cool. I did not know that happened.
It's crazy. And so when you watch that movie, like just look for it, and all of them are like, the fuck just happened?
That's awesome.
They
I
just
did not
weren't
know that.
like expecting it at all.
Hmm.
And so just kind of diving into what was that?
Sorry. The other thing I wanted to mention too is like what you said is that I don't think you're far off the base of saying that like the like real life effects are sometimes better than like the animation.
Yeah.
I think a movie that really did well with both, and I wish people would do this now, is Lord of the Rings. Did you ever watch Lord of the Rings?
No.
So they do a really good job about like makeup and the VFX of everything, as well as tying in some of that what's it called, animation and stuff. I wish more people would do that because it just makes it feel a lot more real. Like all the orcs in the movie,
Yeah.
as far as I know, they're all like actual VFX, you know. And then like Smeagol, for instance, was a body trace and stuff, and so. But stuff like that, I think, is super interesting, and it makes it feel a lot more real than it actually is.
Yeah.
So,
I definitely get that. Yeah, a good mix between the two is something that's hard for some people to do. And when you nail it, it's really good. But when you botch it, it's kind of like a letdown.
yeah, and it's like a big letdown because you can see it really apparent, you know.
Yeah.
And I think especially with like the new Marvel movies and shit,
Yeah.
dude, all the new Marvel movies, their animation sucks. It's so butt.
It
It's like
kind of is.
it's like a multi-million-dollar company, probably even a billion-dollar company. Like, and they seem it's the thing is that they just push them out too quick.
Yeah.
I mean, this is besides the fact because it's not horror, but anyway, continue on.
Fair enough. So anyway, the Alien franchise looms as a monolithic titan, shaping the way audiences perceive extraterrestrial life and horror that might lurk in the cosmic void. Conceived by the visionary mind of Ridley Scott, so this is the director, and evolving through the hands of various talented directors, this series has become an enduring saga, melding horror, suspense, and profound existential dread in the cold depths of space.
Hmm.
So this is actually also the birth of kind of the sci-fi nightmare.
Right.
Like there were sci-fi movies, horror movies before this that were kind of there, but this kind of brought it all into life. This kind of sparked kind of that revolution, I guess.
Right.
And so what happened is Ridley Scott unleashed the movie Alien on the world, introducing viewers to the Nostromo, a claustrophobic spaceship haunted by a relentless acid-blooded xenomorph. The film was groundbreaking, melding sci-fi and horror seamlessly and introducing one of the most iconic and terrifying creatures in cinematic history. Sigourney Weaver's portrayal of Ellen Ripley transformed her into a feminist icon, solidifying Alien's place in not only horror genre, but in the annals of film history. And so, I guess going off on a side note, real quick, is horror is one of the genres that have really brought women from being a secondary role in movies or kind of like an object into making them into kind of empowering roles. And so horror has played a significant role in paving the way for strong female roles in movies. While early horror movies often portrayed like women as victims or damsels in distress, the horror genre eventually became a space where female characters could subvert traditional gender roles and exhibit strength, resilience, and intelligence. This elevation in horror cinema had a profound influence on the portrayal of women in mainstream movies, actually. Several factors contributed to this phenomenon, like innovative female characters, like we just barely brought up in the Alien series,
Mhm.
like Ellen Ripley in the Alien franchise. Then you also have Laurie Strode in Halloween, then Nancy Thompson, Nightmare on Elm Street. All of these are
Yeah.
kind of like become your quote unquote final girls.
Yeah, you know what's interesting too is because I did take like a film theory class a couple semesters ago,
Yeah.
and that was like a big one where like they say that Alien was like actually a big start for because what's her
Sigourney Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
That was like that's like touted upon to be one of the first roles where like a female lead was in it. You know, like it's how can I explain that? Yeah, I guess you just kind of said it, but yeah, it
Yeah.
like essentially paved the road for everything. That's another really good movie that you brought up with Laurie Strode. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Halloween. Yeah, that movie is nuts, dude. And I love that they brought her back for these other films that they made, like
Right.
the 2018 one, because I think without her, it would have been so dull, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I think that Halloween 2018. Did you watch that one?
I haven't.
That one's really good. It kind of like brings back that unsettling feeling because, and again, this is where I really like horror films in
Yeah.
general, and like the suspense, you know, is because Michael at this point is like, and I will try and hold back what I say about what happened in the next two movies, but and I guess we should probably have mentioned this in the beginning, but major spoiler warnings for anybody that hasn't seen any of these films because we're gonna go kind of in depth with them. But for Halloween, I really like that they made Michael kind of just like an eerie character. You know, he's just kind of a murderer. He's a serial killer that is out to get people. You know?
Right.
He kills like 25 people in that film, and that's not. I guess that's the freaky thing about it is that could happen in real life.
Yeah.
Again, mind you, a lot of this stuff could happen in real life, but that is more scary because we know serial killers exist. In my opinion, well, we know serial killers exist, but
Yeah.
in my opinion, that is more scary because that can actually happen. You know, and it's just freaky to think about. In my opinion, again, I sound like a broken record saying that.
No, it's totally fine. I guess just like to finish off on the Alien franchise
Mhm.
is its influence really permeates popular culture, and it inspired countless sci-fi films, video games, literature, and even academic discussions about the depiction.
Mhm.
See if I can even like say anything of gender in cinema. The like HR gear design xenomorph has become synonymous with sci-fi horror. Its biomechanical aesthetic etched into the collective consciousness. Like
Hmm.
the way they made that suit, and the way like they created this monster, like it's very like if I were to show you a xenomorph, you would recognize it. You
Yeah,
may not know what
immediately.
it's like called,
Mhm.
but you'd be like, oh yeah, I know like what that is. I've seen it because
Yeah,
it's
it's
so
iconic. That head and the like very skinny, lanky body. You know,
Yeah.
it's iconic.
It is, and you'll see it like little figurines of it in different movies all the
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think that's another thing too that they did well with the with actually a lot of horror films, like you know Michael Myers.
Yeah.
His mask is very, very iconic, and
Yeah.
then Friday the 13th,
Jason Voorhees.
yeah, his mask is very iconic, and then Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like that like view of him putting on like the skin and stuff,
Yeah.
like that's like the pig mask or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's very iconic. Like horror, I guess, just in general, is does a really good job about being able to like make these practical things almost engraved in our society. Because you
Right.
see those things, you immediately know what they are.
Yeah.
You know, it's
The-
very interesting.
Yeah. They're really good at making symbols, like freaking Saw and the puppet.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
see that, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh shoot, I know what that is. Like it's
Mhm.
crazy.
Mhm.
And
Or
they
it like that
Oh.
big smiling. You know, like immediately you see any of those colors, or you see a clown.
the red balloon.
Or the red balloon. Yeah, that's a huge one. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but that's like the red balloon, dude. You see that, or the yellow jacket and the red
yeah.
boots. You just immediately think it.
Oh yeah. It's crazy how like they can take a symbol and then they can make it ingrained in the collective consciousness.
Mhm.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
It's almost like it almost falls into the category of like ritual magic almost,
Yeah.
but not necessarily the same. So the next kind of franchise I wanted to touch upon is the Conjuring franchise.
Hmm.
And so, in the shadowy realms of horror cinema, where fear lurks and the supernatural is tangible, the Conjuring franchise stands as a chilling testament to the art of terrifying storytelling. Emerging from the depths of paranormal investigation, this series, created by James Wan, has transcended the screen, captivating audiences with its spine tingling narratives and its remarkable performances and haunted like senses of dread. Like it makes you super anxious. And so kind of like the Conjuring franchise was first conceived in 2013 with the release of the first film, introducing audiences to the real life paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who honestly were portrayed brilliantly by Patrick Wilson and Vara Farmiga. Farmiga. Do you know her name?
I don't know how to pronounce it now.
Well, I apologize to this amazing actress. The film's success was not just merely a box office triumph, but marked the beginning of a journey that would unravel some of the most hair-raising paranormal cases ever documented. And so because it did so good, they ended up kind of expanding the universe on The Conjuring. And if you haven't seen The Conjuring, it's a really good movie and really spooky. I guess just like on a side note here that this just made me think about was I recently went to an amusement park here in Utah. It's called Lagoon. And they have this attraction there. It's called Seance. And basically it's kind of like this theme of, they pull some people from the audience, they put them around this table, and this guy who's in charge, he's going to conduct a seance. And of course, like it's all supposed to be staged and supposed to be creepy. I mean, you have to buy a ticket. Ticket was super cheap, like $13 a person. And so you sit in the bleachers because that's where I sat. I wasn't on the table, thank God, because like what I tell you in a second, like is going to blow your mind. But like they're going through, and then he starts off by telling this narrative, the story about who we're gonna try and contact and who this person is, and kind of like what happened to them, and this, that, and the other thing, and it's crazy. And so he actually gets like abducted, gets thrown into a closet. And you see like, yeah.
What the hell?
And then you like see him strapped down with like this projected ghost on him. And it looks so crazy. And then he gets like thrown right back out. But like even before that too, some of like the effects was insane. Like they got this door and had like 6 different locks that this guy, because the door kept like opening by itself, and he kept like slamming it closed, and then it opened again like as he's talking, and slamming it closed. And so he locked these 6 locks on this door. He grabbed 2 planks of wood, put them into these like actual latches on the door.
Yeah.
And like as the seance is going, you just see like one of the pieces of wood go like fly up, thump on the ground.
Yeah.
The next one fly up, thump on the ground, and then you watch each lock
It was
just
super loud.
yeah.
Oh
Like-
man, that must have been. Oh, that's just kind of like unsettling, It's like,
I don't know, like, honest to God, because it's not like you could see the freaking like metal pieces on the door like move up to like drop the wood, and there's no freaking strings on them. Like I have no idea how they pulled that off, or at least
I
that
wonder
I
if there
could
was
see.
like some compression or something in the like built in at the bottom to shoot them out or something.
That would have been. It was crazy because just like watching it just up and fall, and it was it. And there's like a bell on there too on the
Yeah.
door that he pulls off like a shelf and he puts it on there, and the bell starts ringing and the door's not even moving. Like it's insane. And so he comes back after like being thrown into the closet, and then he just like vanishes. Like you see him on the table, he does kind of like this shaky like thing, and we're all left alone. And he like turns on a flashlight because all the lights turned off. And I shit you not, the ghost lady who's supposed to be there, it's this gal who's on the ceiling.
That's so.
She's like
freaky,
just
dude.
in the corner. Like he shines the flashlight. She's in the corner. And then she starts running around on the fucking ceiling. Like, I kid you not, this is a $13 show.
That's
like
insane.
And this amusement park isn't like super high quality.
Yeah, I think
but-
anybody that has gone to Lagoon, like it's fun, but
Yeah.
it's definitely like more of like a local, I guess, amusement park. I would assume, but anyway, continue.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like she's running around on the ceiling, the lights shut off. Then you start like things start touching you underneath the bleachers, because that's where I sat, was kind of on the bleacher stairs,
Like
not on
actually
the table.
touching it. Was it like air effects or was it actually people touching you?
I have no idea.
Huh.
It was just like you feel these like things like touching your ankles, and you're just like,
Ugh.
oh. And the whole time, like she's running around on the feelings, things are touching my ankles. I'm just like,
That's so
oh my
freaky.
god,
Dude, can you
oh my
imagine?
god.
It was all actually
Everybody's
real.
like screaming. I know that would be so insane. But
Like
then,
that was not how it's supposed to go at all. It was
Well,
just real.
like no joke, freaking something else happened at the end too.
Uh-huh.
So while it's going on, the strobe light like turns on and it starts like flashing and fogs everywhere.
Mhm.
But this lady who was on the ceiling is now on the seance table, and these people who are on the seance table, like they have to keep their hands on the table because they were instructed like, no matter what, don't break the circle. No matter what,
I would
don't
hate
break
to be
the
down
circle.
there. Oh, that's so freaky.
So she's on the table, like getting in their face and like screaming and doing all of this shit. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God. And then, no joke, she switches, like she disappears and gets replaced with like Baphomet, the devil, like, but the one with like the goat head.
Yeah.
And he starts going insane. And I'm just like, oh my God. And so all of this like happens, and like the lights like flip on right away, gone.
Really?
Like it's
Where's
not
the
like
guy?
they shut off and then he was gone. It was like the lights just immediately flicked on. Like the strobe light stopped, lights came on, gone.
What the?
And then you have one of the guys who was kind of the one who led you into the room, not even like the professor who was leading it. This other guy's just like, well, guys, we need to get you out of here. Because that was not supposed to go that way. Like he literally said that. He's like, we need to get you out of here right now. It's not safe anymore. And so he tells people at the table, he's like, you need to break the circle. And the minute like they break the circle, like the table starts like moving and shaking everywhere.
What the F?
And so like they start running out, and we all like leave the room as fast as possible because he's like, get out, get out, get out right now.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
there's like a sense of urgency. That's so
Yeah.
interesting. That's so cool for $13, dude.
Yeah,
That's
like
awesome.
you need to go see this. Like the price of admission is like insane. It's like $90.
Yeah,
But,
it's
like-
gotten pretty expensive.
Oh yeah, but like the $13 show is freaking amazing. And right now, because they have all the haunted houses up too that you can go and like, they're okay.
Yeah.
But freaking this show, like I want to go back.
Yeah.
I want to go back and watch it again just because it was so good. And I'm curious if it's the same show every single time. Because last year when I went, it was different.
Really? Yeah, I'd be interested to see as well.
Yeah.
Dang, now you're kind of making me want to go up there, but it's so far from here. It's like an hour 20 from here.
Yeah, that's true. It is pretty far. But no, it's totally like worth it. Anyway, I guess back to The Conjuring.
Yeah.
Just because that like made me think of it, because you had this freaking ghost woman crawling everywhere, and in the Conjuring movies,
Yeah.
like that happens.
Mhm.
But I guess following the success of the initial film, the Conjuring universe expanded rapidly. Spin-offs like Annabelle, The Nun delved into the origins of some of the eerie artifacts and malevolent entities hinted at in the main series, providing kind of an intricate web of interconnected stories that thrilled audiences and deepened the lore of the franchise. What sets the Conjuring franchise apart is its dedication to authenticity. The films are rooted in real-life cases, investigated by the Warrens, grounding the horror in terrifying reality. This connection to general paranormal events adds a layer of depth and dread, blurring the lines between fiction and reality, leaving audiences questioning what they thought they knew about the supernatural, just like I was questioning my choices in that freaking seance. At the heart of the Conjuring franchise are Ed and Lorraine Warren, whose unwavering determination to confront malevolent forces provides a powerful emotional anchor. Their relationship not only adds depth to the horror franchise, but also offers a glimpse into the human spirit's resilience in facing unimaginable terror. Audiences are not just watching characters battle supernatural entities, they are watching a testament to the strength of love and courage, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's, I feel like at the root of a lot of these things, it's always about like family, for instance,
Yeah.
or like, I guess just in general, loved ones are, they always end.
What about love?
Yeah.
Don't you want someone to care about you?
There you go.
Copyright strike.
But they always tend to be like, hopefully most of it end in like a happy ending,
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, continue on. Sorry.
I mean, I just to conclude on the Conjuring franchise, like it kind of was one of the bigger ones that opened up paranormal like movies and kind of the whole, it kind of, right now it's super popular, and for the past, like, I want to say the past decade, supernatural horror films have been super popular.
Mhm.
And a lot of it is kind of tribute to The Conjuring because it was such a popular hit movie. There's been
Yeah.
these spin-offs, and it opened up the genre for other creators to want to kind of bank on this idea of like, oh, people love the paranormal idea, blah blah
Right.
blah. The Conjuring gets so good, let's do another exorcism movie.
Mhm.
And so they come up with all of this other stuff like, um oh, the exorcism of so and so, of Jane Doe or something
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
Emily Rose, I think, was another one. But I guess continuing on, going to one of my favorite horror franchises, and if you want something that's gory,
Sorry.
scary, and almost comedic in some ways as well,
Mhm.
it's The Evil Dead.
Mhm.
And I think it's one of the most like brilliant horror franchises out there.
Brilliant enough to take a first date.
Oh yeah. I should have done my research on that movie.
Probably.
Lesson learned, never again. um, but in the dimly lit corridors of horror cinema, few franchises have left as like as big of a mark as the Evil Dead franchise. Emerging from the creative genius of Sam Raimi, this series has not merely entertained audiences, but it has fundamentally altered the landscape of horror, carving out a niche where film meets dark humor and creatively knows no bounds.
Hmm.
So the journey of The Evil Dead began in 1981, fairly similar around the same time as when Alien started, with a low-budget, high-impact horror film that introduced audiences to a new realm of terror. The original movie, set seemingly inconspicuously in a cabin in the woods,
Right.
kind of like a lot of horror movies do, managed to transcend its modest budget through inventive camera work, innovative special effects, and sheer audacity. Like this is a
Sheer audacity.
literally like this movie, like some people, I'm part of this Facebook group and it's titled, I don't know where you got the audacity, but you need to put it back. But like literally, I don't know where they got the audacity for some of this stuff because it comes out of nowhere and it's like, oh my God, like, sir, you were really pushing the envelope, especially for 1981. But it managed to transcend its modern budget, like, because it didn't have a huge budget. To this great film that's crazy. The visceral, unrelenting terror of The Evil Dead provided a shot of adrenaline to the horror genre, redefining audience expectations of what horror film could achieve. What followed was not just a sequel of the first movie, but an evolution. Evil Dead 2 in 1987 retained the essence of its predecessor while injecting a hefty dose of dark comedy, creating a unique blend of horror and hilarity. The franchise found its iconic hero in Ash Williams, played with unmatched charisma by Bruce Campbell. Ash, with his chainsaw hand and irreverent attitude, became a cultural icon, representing a new kind of horror hero. And so, in this, although it came out around the same time as Alien, The Evil Dead chose a strong male lead for most of its time out there, except
Yeah.
for getting towards the new one, The Evil Dead Rise, to where you had Bruce Campbell as Ash, who one of his he was really good at the role and he's pretty funny in there. Like one of the quotes in there, you've probably heard this, is just like groovy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But he was kind of a new kind of hero. But The Evil Dead did not stop at the silver screen. In 2015, the franchise made a triumphant return to the small screen with a television series, Ash versus the Evil Dead, which is actually really good. It's on Netflix, or it
Is that-
was when I saw it.
Okay, I was gonna ask if that was like a Netflix original. I have a hard time with Netflix originals.
Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not.
Yeah, it's like really hit and miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the continuation of the story in this format not only delighted like long-term fans, but also introduced a new generation to the Evil Dead, because it kind of like faded away, and then this kind of brought it back into the limelight. So the influence of the Evil Dead on the horror genre is immeasurable. Its blend of horror and comedy inspired countless filmmakers, paving the way for a wave of slapstick horror comedies. The franchise also underscored the importance of practical effects and ingenuity, demonstrating that a creative mind could achieve terrifying results without relying solely on CGI.
Hmm.
Beyond the original trilogy, The Evil Dead spawned a 2013 reboot that introduced the story to a new generation while honoring the spirit of the original one. The remake not only pleased fans, but also garnered critical acclaim, proving that the enduring appeal of the franchise's core concept. And then just the newest one from this year, like it's not necessarily related specifically to any of the other ones, like continuity wise.
Yeah.
Except for like in the beginning, it does like, well, not even in the beginning, like at the very, it's interesting. I'm not going to spoil this.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, because that one came out this year. So
Yeah.
I'm sure many people probably still haven't seen it.
And I guess for like some context behind the like Evil Dead franchise, what happens is there's this book, the Necronomicon,
Mhm.
and like these priests were researching it, trying to figure out to see how they could like use it for good because it's
Yeah,
the
'cause
Book of the Dead.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Because it doesn't have to do with like necromancy and whatever. and that
Yeah.
stuff. Okay.
And so basically what happened, like these priests were reading from the book and they recorded it.
Mhm.
And so a lot of
Major
these people-
spoilers. by
Oh,
the way.
yeah?
Yeah. Major spoilers. Here we go.
but I'm not spoiling the movie
Yeah.
from this year. This one's been out from 1981, so if you haven't
Mhm.
seen it, then that's on you, bro.
Mhm.
It's like the Bible where people are like, "Don't spoil the Bible." Bro, that thing's been out for
Freaking thousands of years.
exactly. If you haven't read it, that's on you
Yeah.
again. But so they recorded it on there, and what typically happens is our protagonists like play the
Mhm.
tape, and it summons these deadites, which you can't kill. Like
Mm.
you literally you can cut their heads
Mhm.
off, and you can't kill them. Like the
Yeah.
only way you can really kill them, I think, is like with fire.
Mhm.
Like you could dismember them, all this stuff. I
Like
think,
a vampire.
yeah.
Mhm.
I think you could use a wood chipper. I think if you get them in like enough tiny pieces, you could use a wood chipper. But like, even the priest will tell you, like in some of the other tapes, like they tried, like cutting people up and burying them, hoping
Right.
they would die, and they wouldn't die. They tried healing them through exorcisms to get these deadite souls out of them, and they wouldn't die.
Hmm.
And like if these things bite you or like scratch you, then you get infected with like a deadite, or like
Yeah.
they'll do the whole scary like throw up blood in your mouth
Oh,
type
that
of
stuff
thing.
is so.
And they are so violent. Like, okay, this is a spoiler, just for the movie from this year, but just an example of how the gore like is.
Mhm.
There was this fight scene in the kitchen between a deadite and our main protagonist,
Mhm.
and the deadite took a cheese grater right to this woman's calf, and so you
Ooh.
just see like,
Just
yeah.
the cheese grate of her leg. That's,
yeah, just
ugh.
absolutely just. And luckily, just because she's our main woman in this movie, she doesn't get turned into a deadite because
Yeah.
she just happened not to get any blood on her
Uh-huh.
or any of their black goopy stuff.
Uh-huh.
But you just see her leg get like racked with this cheese grater, and you can't help but to like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
that. You feel the pain
Yeah.
as you're watching that, and you see the gore, and it's like, oh my god, it's amazing. And
Mhm.
so, I guess just to conclude on the Evil Dead, like in the annals of horror history, the Evil Dead is just kind of a testament to the power of how you can allure fear through creativity. Um, and it really inspired like artists and just writers and filmmakers to really push the boundaries of what horror can be. The Evil Dead really is more than a series of movies. It's a cultural phenomenon, an ever burning, ever churning cauldron of nightmares and laughter that continues to captivate audiences, ensuring its legacy as a cornerstone of the horror cinema for generations to come. Again, watch it.
Mhm.
Please watch all of them, because even the remake that happened in 2013,
Yeah.
although it didn't have like Bruce Campbell as kind of like the lead guy,
Yeah.
it was really good, and
Uh-huh.
it's scary. Like they did a really good job. Like I don't know how else to say, just watch the movie.
Just watch it. Dude, the thing with Bruce Campbell, I never like can take that dude seriously,
Yeah.
unfortunately, because the only thing I ever think of is him and Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
Because he's like, I don't know, because he's got, obviously, he does a lot of movies with Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I think he appears in all the Spider-Mans. And then he was actually like the tutorial voice of
Yeah.
all the Spider-Man games. So anytime I see him, I only think Spider-Man. So it's hard to like get that image out of my head, you know?
Well, the good news, like with the Evil Dead, it's like a comedy, and so
Yeah.
you don't have to take him seriously.
Right.
It's
Oh,
like
that's
horror
nice.
comedy, and so 10 out of 10. Like watch The Thing.
Mhm.
Like there's a reason why it's known as like a staple
Mhm.
in horror cinema, and like for sure, like during Halloween, you have to watch The Evil Dead Rise. Like
Mhm.
I keep talking it up when I'm going home. I'm like half tempted to just like play it and watch it as I'm driving home. I won't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Just because I'm trying to be a better driver.
That's good.
Yeah, because
It's
I
always a
got
good
that
thing.
speeding ticket.
Oh yeah, Brennan got a speeding ticket last week, unfortunately.
I think it was unjustified. There's no way I was going as fast as they said. I doubt it. I was told I was going 97 in a 70 zone. I don't believe I was going that fast.
Uh-huh. I don't know,
Um,
bro. I've seen you driving.
I believe I was going the speed limit.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Just for like future records, I believe I was going the speed limit.
Okay.
And
Well.
so, yeah, that's what I believe. I
Yeah.
believe I was going the speed limit.
Usually I go like 75, and I don't think at least I haven't gotten pulled over for going 75. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty safe bet, like 5 over, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes in the fast lane, if I get a little frisky with the law, I try to go 9 over.
Yeah.
But never past 9. Anyway, this is kind of
Well, I'm
besides
just
the point.
saying, like, I believe I wasn't going there. Now, if you could prove I was going faster, then good for you. But I personally believe that I was going the speed limit.
Uh-huh.
I can't 100% for certain say like yes or no, but I personally believe, I have a strong belief
Uh-huh.
that I was going the speed limit and the ticket is unjustified.
Nice. Well, to move on past your unfortunate ticket.
Yeah.
So I think the last thing we want to touch on is The Shining. I feel like, and I'm sure many of you have seen The Shining. It's probably one of the most popular.
Again,
Like-
if you haven't, that's on you.
That's on you for sure. Obviously, major spoilers here because I'm going to go through pretty much the entire film. It'll be brief, but yeah, I think this one is a big one for a lot of people. I think this one really kind of put that suspense into people's eyes and that feeling of suspense, you know,
Yeah.
because of Jack Nicholson's performance. He just is like an eerie character, you know, that smile, the eyebrows, the stares, you know, he's
Yeah.
very good at being able to convey emotion through his face and his acting. Great actor.
Yeah. He looks psychotic.
Yeah, he looks psychotic. I mean, now unfortunately he's old, you know, that was
Yeah.
a long time ago, but the movie I think still holds a lot of weight, which is really cool. The only weird thing is like, and it was just a thing back then, but you watch the film and the transitions between scenes, I
Yeah.
almost feel like you're left like wanting more, if you will.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. Like there's a lot of scenes where there's this open dialogue happening and then it starts panning out and fades into another scene.
Yeah.
But I think that was just the style back then, you know,
Yeah.
to switch it around like that.
You know what else was kind of like an old style?
What?
Dick Cheney shooting
Oh
puppies.
my gosh. Here we go. We back at the Dick Cheney, bro.
And his freaking puppy shooting like massacre. Just kidding.
Every day, every episode, you guys, we won't fail to mention him. He's got to be in here.
You know, maybe one day I'll surprise everybody and just like drop my beef with Dick.
Drop your beef with Dick.
Basically, maybe one day I'll drop it and just like not mention him in an episode. But
For now, it'll be here.
today is not that day.
Today's not that day.
That
Um,
alleged puppy shooter. I'm just
Alleged.
kidding.
But yeah, I don't know. I just I think again, this is an important one. Not only because it was an important film for a lot of, I guess, horror films to come, but it was important because of Stephen King.
Yeah.
He, as many of you know, he's written a lot of these very kind of unsettling books. I mean, It is Stephen King as well. Then you got Shining, obviously, and then several others that I can't think off the top of my head. But interestingly, Stephen King did not like this adaptation of his film or of his book. There's just too much change, and he was frustrated by. So the guy that produced it, what's the producer and I just forgot the name of the other person that does all the stuff. Whatever. It was Stanley Kubrick. So Stanley Kubrick produced and did all the stuff for the movie, and he changed the story quite a bit.
Yeah.
So let me just read a quote from Stephen King about the film. That's what's wrong with The Shining. Basically, the movie has no heart. There's no center to the picture. I wrote the book as a tragedy, and if it was a tragedy, it was because all the people loved each other. Here, it seems there's no tragedy because there's nothing to be lost. So he had a lot of frustration with the film because Kubrick's interpretation just changed quite a bit of it. I'll dive into a few of these changes that went on here in a second, but I kind of wanted to give a background as to why Stephen King, his inspiration behind the whole story, pretty much. So, and again, major spoilers to come. So and I haven't read the book, unfortunately. I probably should, so maybe I shouldn't even be talking about this, but I hope I don't get dragged through the coals too hard. But in the film, Jack Torrance is the main, like, I guess you could call him the antagonist. But he has a lot of issues with alcoholism, and that in lies a lot of where
Don't we all?
Yeah,
Just kidding.
That's where King got a lot of his own. He had like battles with alcoholism and addiction, which then really helped to shape Jack's character throughout the movie. Because of that, I guess, just in general, Stephen was able to pull a lot of his own emotions and frustrations with alcoholism and put them into this character, which almost made him feel a little more real, in my opinion. The other thing, too, is that him and his wife actually stayed in the hotel. The Stanley Hotel is actually real. The Overlook Hotel is what's called in the movie, but the Stanley Hotel is legit, and it's in Colorado. And him and his wife went and stayed there for one night in the room 217. And I'll jump into that in a second because the room 217 is pretty significant throughout the book, but not in the film. And there's a reason behind that.
Why is that?
I'll tell you in just a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you guys in just a minute. So yeah, it was in this what was the name? The Stanley Hotel is in Colorado, and him and his wife stayed there. But there was also, it was very like isolated when they stayed there. And there's a lot of talk about it being haunted as well. And so that's where he kind of pulled the inspiration for being there and having like that kind of supernatural essence to it. He also has a very he really likes that supernatural side of things. And so he wants to bring it into his films and stuff and show how it plays a role in a lot of, I guess, and we've talked about it, but supernatural plays a lot of roles in that horror section of like film, in my opinion. But yeah, so let's hop into some of these interesting changes that Kubrick made to the film, because it is pretty weird, and a lot of it is like, I think just because it would have worked better with the film. There is actually two interpretations of The Shining. There's one that was like a show.
Yeah.
And then there's a movie one. The show, apparently King actually prefers the show over the movie because it actually shows a little bit more of the story's interpretation.
Yeah.
A little better. But Kubrick, I think, made the film to be able to be shown on the big screen, and so people would like it and be able to watch the film without having to have read the book, because a lot of the time when you're trying to interpret a book to a movie, it's so difficult.
Right.
And I think that's a lot of what people have issues with, like Harry Potter, for instance. In my opinion, I have read Harry Potter. They did do a lot of really good, but they missed a lot of really interesting parts that I would have loved to see in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But so one of the biggest ones, and one of the ones that is talked about a lot of the changes that Kubrick made, are with Jack Torrance, actually. So in the book, apparently he is very Let me give you the film interpretation first. So in the film, he's kind of a dick, to be
Yeah.
honest. Um, he doesn't really like care about anything. He claims to care about Danny, his son, but his wife he doesn't really care for, and he is like an alcoholic, you know.
Yeah.
And so in the film, he's kind of arrogant too. And so when he goes up and has that interview, again, spoilers ahead, but he goes up to have an interview to be like the caretaker for the hotel during the wintertime.
Yeah.
So somebody has to stay up there during those winter months to take care of the hotel, make sure nothing falls apart, blah, blah, blah. So he's in this interview and the manager says, hey, by the way, we had a caretaker a little bit ago, but so-and-so essentially went crazy and killed his family. And he's like, that tends to deter some people. So we understand if you don't want to take the job. And then Jack at this point is like, well, my wife kind of likes like that true crime, so she'll like that story. I'm sure it's totally fine. So right there and then he's like, doesn't really care about his family. You know,
Right.
he doesn't care about what they think. It's more like, well, Jack's like a struggling writer right now. He only wants to focus on his craft. So he's like, I don't care. I want the isolation so I can write, blah, blah,
Right.
blah. In the book, apparently, he's a lot more sympathetic, a lot nicer, and he cares about his family a lot more. They kind of like just make him very, I guess it's like the descent into madness
Yeah.
in the book is a lot more gradual and I guess slow, if you will. In
Yeah.
the film, they just kind of throw it in there. You know, when the first time I watched it, I was more thinking like, wait, why is Jack going crazy all of a sudden? Like I didn't understand. And it wasn't until after that I kind of like thought about it a little more as you start to realize that the hotel is almost like infecting Jack, you know. It's preying on his weaker mind right now because he's only thinking about like alcohol and stuff and he's frustrated with his writing. And so
Yeah.
the hotel's like preying on that, but it doesn't really convey that super well throughout the film. It just kind of shows it's like almost an abrupt thing where Jack just starts going crazy, you know?
Yeah.
So that was one big change that a lot of people didn't agree with. The next one in the book, the hedge animals, they're like these living animals within the hedge that kind of come to life. And at the very end, what ends up happening is that these animals come to life and they attack Jack. In the film adaptation, in my opinion, I like this ending a lot better. But in the film, Danny is running around in the hedge maze from Jack. You know, it kind of it gives it a lot more suspense, a lot more like on edge, because you want to make sure Danny gets away and he doesn't die. Because you know, I guess you want to hope for that happy ending. You know,
Yeah.
and that's another thing too. It definitely differs a lot from the book, the ending, because in the ending it provides a really distinct like, here's the conclusion, it's done.
Yeah.
It leans a lot more toward the supernatural and like hopeful. But the film adaptation is a lot more ambiguous and it leaves like a lot more for interpretation, you know. And I think the reason behind that was again, they wanted to like work off of it, you know, and they did that really well within the Sleep Doctor. I don't know if you watched that one either.
I did see that. The
Yeah.
woman was kind of spooky, but she was also kind of
Wait, which one?
in the Sleep Doctor, the one where she had kind of like that top hat.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they played it really well into that because again, the Shining kind of leaves everything up for interpretation. You know, you want to know what's going on or what's going to happen,
Right.
because they just drive away. You know, and then they show the image of Jack at the very end in the film or in the picture or frozen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's another really interesting thing they did. Another one too,
Mhm.
and this plays into what you spoke about earlier about females being like more shown as a like weaker person, you know,
Yeah.
like a damsel in distress.
Yeah.
In the movie, Wendy, his wife, is very like hysterical and just kind of like I don't know, like can't control your emotion, just like freaking out. Mind you, though, like in the movie, I don't know if I would be any better. I feel like I'd be worse than Wendy if I had a husband or a wife that was going insane. You know,
Freaking
I don't know
chopping
what
the
I would
door
do.
with an axe.
Yeah, dude, it's terrifying. You know, but in the book, interestingly, they make her a lot more like steadfast and stronger. Like she's depicted as like a very like not powerful woman, but a lot more aggressive than she was in the film.
Right.
So, okay. And then here's what I was talking about earlier. Room 217 versus room 237. And again, I don't know. You told me you watched the film, but 237 is where like the bathtub woman is in there, you know?
Yeah.
Where Danny goes in, where he's told not to go in by oh crap, what was his name? Lloyd. Or was it Lloyd? Yeah, Lloyd at the beginning of the movie where he says, "Do not go into room 237." So they, sorry, lost my train of thought for a second. But in the film, 237 is where all the bad stuff happens pretty much. That's where Danny gets choked out,
Yeah.
and that's where a lot of people consider Jack's like move to the dark side, quote unquote, happens when he goes and like kisses that beautiful young woman, and then
Yeah.
she turns into like this saggy, moldy, dead old lady, you know?
Yeah.
That was actually the room that Steven stayed in, 217. And in the book, it is 217. So that's pretty cool. But they changed it in the film because the hotel was like, well, you guys are filming it in our hotel. We don't want guests to feel scared to stay in this room,
Yeah.
217. And so they changed it to 237 because that room doesn't exist in the hotel.
Okay.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool because I mean, and I think they have like every right to want to say that because it is
Yeah.
true, you know. Like I think people would be a little weary to stay in the room 217, but on the other side, that's actually like apparently the most requested room to stay in is 217.
See, that's what I was thinking. I was like, well, usually it's the opposite. Like,
Yeah.
usually when spooky stuff is, you get all these people coming out of the woodworks and they're like, let me stay there instead. That's why so many like haunted inns are popular.
Right, exactly. You know, people want to get that kind of like that unsettling feeling again, you know.
Yeah.
Lastly, the another change, or I guess one of the other changes that I thought was interesting was the book really tries to put an emphasis on the supernatural element again because King just like really likes that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the movie instead places a huge emphasis on like psychological and surreal kind of aspects within the supernatural as well as like the human mind, you know. Jack starts to go crazy and he has a lot of these struggles with alcoholism, which kind of causes him to be a little more aggressive than he was in the book, pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, the main differences within the plot, the character development, the tone, they offer a really good film experience, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But obviously, again, Stephen King was not very impressed. He was pretty dissatisfied with the adaptation. The other frustrating thing too is that like I understand it's his film or his book, you know, King's book, but
Right.
as far as I know, Kubrick asked for full like he asked for freedom within making it, you know,
Yeah.
because he at the end of the day knew that, hey, I need to make this for a film. You know, I need to have freedom to be able to do what I want. Mind you, I don't think he should have changed as much as he did,
Yeah.
but the film still is like touted upon as one of the best horror films of all time,
Oh yeah.
you know, because it gives you that eerie feeling, you know, it's freaky.
It is really freaky. Like, you know, horror movies that probably just get lost in time are different things like The Visit
Yeah.
or is that what it's The Invitation?
Yeah,
Like, how many people know about that movie?
not a lot.
I mean, do you know what that movie is?
The Invitation?
Yeah,
I don't think so. The Invitation?
exactly. It
Now I
was,
want to look it up.
I mean, I'm not recommending it. It's not like a super good movie, but like movies that can stand the test of time, like The Shining, as you're saying, like it really goes to show like how good they are and how well they like perfected it.
The Invitation. I think
Yeah.
I do because that was pretty recent, right? It's like about vampires or something.
Yeah, that was last year.
Yeah. Okay. Now I do remember it actually. Yeah, I saw the trailers for that, and I thought it was again, that's the thing too, is like I'm kind of like I guess a hater, if you will, and I'm sure you guys probably realize that. But any type of those like kind of movies, I always try to like disprove them, I guess,
Yeah.
because I just think they're dumb. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. Any movie that can stand the test of time is a lot more important to, I guess, the general society in general, you know, because it's a lot more remembered. Again, we spoke about this earlier, but like the red balloon, you know, has stood the test of time and will continue to stand the test of time because it is so like iconic.
Right.
You know, it's so cool that they were able to do something like that and still add so much throughout time, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, so the other thing too that I thought was pretty interesting, and just with the film and throughout the film, Danny mentions this character Tony. He's like you know.
Yeah.
Apparently that's a projection of himself in the future, because the Shining, like that power that they have, you can see in the future and in the past.
Okay.
And so apparently that's Tony is Danny from the future helping himself through the situation, like trying to get him to be safe and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting. And then, oh, you know what? I forgot to mention probably like one of the biggest. Oh, well, I guess I kind of glazed over it, but the ending of the movie within the book, and within the book, Jack goes into the boiler room
Yeah.
because he was tasked to make sure that the boiler room didn't like explode or anything. But he goes down to the basement in the book and he turns up the pressure and he blows up the hotel. Like it burns to a crisp.
Oh, dang.
And that's like one of the main differences between the ending. Again, like I said, the book's ending kind of leaves it as like closure. You get closure, you know. Jack
Yeah.
is seen as more of like a not a hero, but less of a like horrible person, you know.
Yeah.
In the movie, it's all left up into interpretation because you don't know what happened. But so yeah, sorry, I totally forgot about that. One last thing I want to talk about here before we kind of wrap things up is, and I think they do this in a lot of movies, score. I think the music score is a huge, huge deal to convey like freakiness, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Especially like there's that kind of buzzing noise with the high pitch, like that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if this has any validity to it, but
I think we have something kind of like that.
do you? All right, here we go. Yeah, kind of like exactly something like this. Here, I'll turn it up.
Yeah, we kind of have that. And then I think similar, like, kind of like this too.
Yeah, exactly. Like these kind of like eerie feeling noises, you know, they kind of make you just a little bit unsettled and
Yeah.
a little bit just uneasy. You know, a lot of it is done with like wind instruments or with what are they, like violin. I don't remember what kind of instrument is that. Like the violin is a string instruments.
Right.
But it is said, and again, I don't know, don't quote me on this because I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they use, like people that have mixed these music or these sounds, or they use the buzzing of bees, because bees kind of like make you a little bit unsettled, you know?
Oh, wow.
Nobody wants to get stung.
Yeah.
And so they use like that as a base to make the music and stuff,
Yeah.
which I thought was super interesting because, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Anytime I hear a bee around me or a wasp, dude, I'm like, get the hell away from me. I don't want to get stung. That shit hurts, you
Well,
know?
sometimes what they'll do too is they'll try and tailor a beat to match kind of like a heartbeat sound.
Yeah.
Because like when you hear your heartbeat, that's like usually a bad sign, like
Yeah.
stress or anxiety type of
Mhm.
thing. And so they use kind of that like bum bum bum
Yeah.
bum bum
Yep.
bum, and they'll either do it like with the music kind of naturally being that way,
Yep.
or they'll actually kind of make like a thumping noise.
Hmm. So to hit on what you're saying, actually, interestingly, that is called Mickey Mousing. It has like a word for it or a name for it. So it's used a lot in like the old style of animation, where it was kind of like you draw and then you record, draw, record, draw, record, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
What they would do with the music is like, let's say Mickey was walking, right? And it was like a kind of something spooky or something suspenseful, is the more he walks, the faster the music goes, or like, I don't know, he hits a wall and it kind of high pitched noises, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they try to go to the beat of how the film is being run. And that is a huge thing that Gordon Stansforth, the one that he was the music editor on the film, he really tried to convey that, like the film's tension and unease with this Mickey Mousing method.
Yeah.
So, and they show it a lot often when, like, for instance, Danny's like having his shining moments, you know,
Yeah.
or Lloyd does the shining where, like, you know, that high pitch, like the, you know,
Yeah.
sorry if that was annoying to listen to, but they do that a lot to kind of convey that, like, oh, something's happening, you know, something's about to happen. Or they progressively, anytime they show Jack, which I thought this was super interesting, they try and make the music a little more eerie each time, you know,
Yeah.
as Jack progressively gets more insane and more kind of convoluted within the walls of the hotel, the music gets more and more aggressive until the very end.
Right.
As Jack starts kind of walking and running, the music gets more and more aggressive, which I thought that was so cool. You know, it helps convey that essence of fear and insanity for the viewer.
Yeah, I
but
completely agree for sure.
yeah, I think they just, I just think the Shining did a lot of good for a lot, like, again, horror films in general.
Yeah.
But the music within The Shining and the producers and the music editors just did an even like magnitudes more for movie making in general. You
Yeah.
know, The Shining's like, they were able to make an atmosphere of horror and tension, of like psychological tension, with something so minimal, you know,
Yeah.
because you don't really think about music being that big of a deal. But anytime you hear, for instance, like the Spider-Man theme, you immediately know what it is.
Right.
Or, I don't know, the Batman theme or Superman, even, like, I
The
know
Exorcist thing.
the Exorcist, exactly, like, or Michael Myers theme, you know,
Right.
Halloween, dun dun dun, you know, they do so much with so little, which is just, I don't know, it's so cool. You know, you hear that music and it almost gives you like a sense of just dread and unease anytime you hear it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's the last thing I want to talk about. I think hopefully we didn't butcher too many details here, and I hope you guys had like found it as interesting as I did, because I don't know, that kind of stuff is cool, because you look at the horror movies and stuff that didn't do so well, and a lot of these things are missing. You know, a lot of them are not shown within the film, and then you wonder then it kind of like leaves you to know why they didn't do so well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of all I had on The Shining. I wanted to do other movies, but I thought The Shining had quite a bit to unpack, just because there's a lot going on within that film, and yeah, I just really liked it. And again, you guys should go watch The Doctor Sleep. That was a really good sequel to the film's adaptation. Again, I haven't read any of these books, which I probably should, but they're super long, and I hope I don't get dragged through the coals for that. Honestly.
Fair enough. Just go watch all of the movies we talked about. Go check out all these franchises. Go
They're all
watch The
relatively
Shining.
short too, because like a lot of these older movies tend to be quite a bit shorter, just because, I don't know. I guess I don't know why, but I feel like they're always shorter for some reason, like an hour 20 most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's shorter movies for sure. There's just a lot of films in some of them. Like, I think The Conjuring has like 5 films.
Yeah,
Let's
and
see.
Halloween has like 12 films.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the other thing too that I wanted to kind of hit. Last thing. So the Halloween franchise, like, I really enjoyed it, and I enjoy the movies just because I like Michael Myers and that kind of character. But
Yeah.
the frustrating thing about the 2018 one, they almost gave us like closure at the end of it, right? He gets trapped in the basement. Again, spoilers. He gets trapped in the basement. They light it on fire. How's any regular human supposed to survive that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then in the second movie, He gets out and he starts killing again. And they almost betray Mike Myers as like he almost turns out to be like a more supernatural, you know.
Yeah.
And as many people might even say is like, well, that's how it's supposed to be, you know. It is supposed to give you that kind of essence of like this guy is unbeatable, you know. He's just something of the devil.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just don't know if I really love that idea. I'd much rather be like, he is a human, you know, he can be hurt. But in the second movie, they freaking shoot him, stab him like 100 times, and the
Yeah.
dude is still standing. Like, how does that make any sense?
It
almost like-
doesn't.
right. It almost pulled the like suspense and the freaking like the scariness out of it for me.
Yeah.
You know, which was upsetting because I really wanted it to be I guess continue to carry that element of unease from the first movie. You know?
Yeah.
But
For sure. But yeah, that's kind of all I had on that.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We actually were thinking to ourselves, we were like, oh dang, I don't know if we're gonna have too much content for this, but now we're an hour 15 in and we just barely finished. So
We had enough.
Yeah.
Thank God. Just kidding. It was pretty good. I enjoyed what we talked about. Just some things I want to touch on before we end. Definitely with any feedback, reach out to us at shadow.valleypod@thedogenetwork.com. And then also reach out to us on Instagram.
yeah, follow us on the socials. Really, we want to hear from you guys. I know we say this every episode, but we would love to hear from you guys. Our Instagram name is Shadow Valley Pod. Go give us a follow, shoot us a DM, and we'd love to talk. Especially with a subject like this, I think it's cool to hear other people's opinions on movies. You know,
Oh yeah.
specifically on like horror movies, because I feel like they have such a vast range of them.
Oh yeah.
That maybe there's some that I haven't even heard of or even delved into that I would probably love. So, or if we got any details wrong too,
Yeah.
please feel free to shoot us out a message, because we want to be, we want to know when we're wrong, because we don't want to just be speaking out of our butts. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes it's a little fun. Just
Yeah.
kidding.
But yeah, again, we'll get Parker back this next week. We've
Yeah.
got 2 more Halloween episodes planned for you guys, so we'll be looking forward to that. We ran into a little issue here because I'm a fool and I miscounted the weeks. So we need to plan for 1 more episode. Originally, we had planned for 4, but we've got 5 coming. So 2 more. But yeah, thanks guys for listening, and we hope to hear from you on the socials or emails or whatever.
Yeah, sounds great. You guys have a great rest of your day.